Hello and welcome to the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Our guest is someone who's been here before. Her name is Kim Miller, and she's a multidisciplinary performing artist. Now, the last time Kim was here, she was the poet laureate for Prince William County, Virginia, and you came to talk about what exactly that meant. So you're done with that?
Yes.
How long has that been?
That has been, let's see, it started in 2020 and ended in 2022.
Okay, and you also, I think you did some poetry
Yes.
for us. So I'm not going to ask you to do that now unless you want to.
Oh.
But, but we're here today. You recently did a TED Talk.
Yes.
And TED Talks are very, very popular, and it's very prestigious to have done
Thank
a
you.
TED Talk. So how did that come about?
It's a long process. People think it's like, so quick turnaround, but it took about 8 months. And from what I understand, there was over 200 applicants, and they could only pick 11. And this one happened to be women only. So 11 women were chosen, and I was one of them, so I was really honored to be picked, because when you have that many people, you do not have to be picked.
What made you want to do it?
Well, I already do speaking engagements and speaking in general. I was a kid who got talked too much on the report card. So I've always been talking. Talking has never been an issue. It's just talking with a purpose. That's what changed along the years. So TED Talk is one of those dreams I had on my list. And I said, I just need to do it and find the right place and organization. And Dr. Rivers was fantastic. She ran it, and it was a great program.
Okay, so you write up your speech, and then what happens? Do they edit? What happens?
Absolutely. So they give you the theme. Ours was from no to now, and you could take any perspective of that works for you as an individual. So then you write your speech, like you said, and then they tweak it. They say, well, not this part, not this, and they explain why. And then you rewrite it again, and then you submit it again. And at a certain point, it gets approved, and then you start memorizing it. And that's the hardest part.
You said that when we were off air, we were talking about this, and you said that it has to be timeless. That
Yes.
you could, whether you did it in 1990 or whether you did it in 2025. What made yours timeless?
I did I did not include any cliches, which they don't technically allow anyway. So what they want is something that if you pull it up 10 years from now, you're not trying to figure out what slogan was that, what cliche was that. So in making mine timeless, I included my poetry, because I'm a poet and I'm always going to include it. Even when I have speeches, other speeches, I include my poetry. So I think that's one of the things that made it timeless, and also that kind of grabbed you.
Let's talk about the actual talk. It's 17 syllables to avoid the blame game. What, in your view, are those things you should do to avoid blaming?
First, you have to know you. And I tell people no one should know you better than you. So get to know who you are and who you aren't. You're not just the sum of your mistakes, you're a whole person. So figure out who you are. And I tell people also figure out your triggers, because someone knows them even if you don't. So you pretending that they don't exist does not serve you well. So once you start off with those things, you can figure out, are you blaming someone? Is someone blaming you? Are you in your own way? So all of those things work together.
What in your life taught you that? What experiences in your life?
It was not saying no enough.
That we as women,
Yes. The doers, the overdoers, the make room in our schedulers, the I can schedule everything, the I can do it all, the, Wonder Woman, the Superwoman syndrome that we have. We just think we're supposed to do everything, and if we're not exhausted at the end of the day, we didn't do enough. And I was just like, I fed into that mindset, and my schedule was crazy. People would call me at the last minute, sure, I can do it, and I'd write it in, and then I'm mad at them. Right?
but you said yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, the nerve of them. I'm like, well, you said yes. But when you deal with blame or don't deal with blame, you could actually convince yourself that it's someone else's fault that you're in that position.
What are some of the other things that you think people should keep in mind? Because it's huge, the blame game, because it's so much easier
Yes.
to blame other people than it is to blame yourself.
Exactly. I think definitely when you're starting to look at as far as yourself is to really look at why are you using blame? Because as I included in my talk, blame is very convenient because if it's not your fault, there's nothing for you to examine. But if it is your fault, then you have to take action. So we have to really start looking at, are we really avoiding something here? And what is it and why? Because a lot of the times the breadcrumbs are there. It'll tell us why we are avoiding it, what caused this line of thinking in our head, but we don't want to follow the breadcrumbs. We just want to stay in, I call it choice ignorance, so that we don't have to examine ourselves.
Because it's really hard.
Yes.
When you have to look in the mirror. It's because some of the things you see, you're not going to like.
No.
But as you just said, we're not just one thing. We're many things. We're multifaceted.
Absolutely. And we need to look for those things because we've been taught to look for the negative. I'll ask someone about themselves, and the things they first list are the negatives. I said, I didn't ask you negatives. I asked you about you. You see how that negativity flowed from you? Now tell me something positive. And it's, you can't even give me the lyrics of your own song, but you can tell me all this negativity. So if you don't know the balance that is you, how is someone else supposed to know it?
How did your writing poetry help you with that?
Oh, poetry, the thing I love about poetry is spoken word poetry is about truth. So when you get into your truth and poetry, you're going to get to the truth in you because you can't write that fakeness if you're writing true poetry, in my opinion.
What's the difference between spoken word and other types?
I'm glad you asked that because that's a common misconception. So there's poets and there's spoken word poets. And there's the poet police who try to legate and legalize everything. There's no actual poetry police, but there's someone who's always got an opinion. But basically, a poet basically reads their poem. Nothing wrong with that. A spoken word poet is supposed to make you feel their poem. They're supposed to say it with certain inference, a higher voice, a softer voice, faster at some points, slower at certain points. So that's the difference. So if you're just looking for someone basically to read, you hire a poet. If you're looking for someone to come and basically perform their poem, then you're looking for a spoken word poet. One is not better than the other, even though they will argue amongst themselves. My personal opinion is one is not better than the other. They're just different types of poets.
What if you have the skill when it comes to writing the poetry, but you're not a performer, or the other way around, where you are a true performer, but you can't write to save your life?
Then be true to yourself. What I mean by that is if you are a great writer, but you can't speak it in a performing manner, then just be a poet. Just read it the regular way. If you are a great performer, but you're not a great writer, be true to yourself. Perform what you are good at. So that way it's not a competition, even though there is competition in poetry, something called slam poetry, which is complete competition. But outside of that, be true to yourself. It looks like we are performing when we're spoken word, and we are, but we're not acting. This is our true feeling of the words that we're stating.
If you were to talk to children, and I'm sure you do, what would you tell them to write about?
The one thing I don't tell people is what to write about, but what I do tell them is, and I love talking to kids because at first they have no cut cards. They either like you or they don't, and that's what I love about kids. You can come in there with a poem and they'll be like, okay.
And it's honest.
Exactly, it's honest. I tell them that this whole face body thing that they are so stuck in at that age means nothing in poetry. And I watch their little faces light up because they're so stuck in the cliques. And I'm not the popular one, and I'm not the skinny one, or I'm the pretty one, so I'm naturally going to get it. Not in poetry. Poetry is all about your words. Spoken word poetry is all about your words. You could be the cutest thing on the planet. If you can't speak it, of course we will still applaud because we're a great audience. But we're talking about really getting into it, has nothing to do with looks. It's all about your pen. And for a kid who's been excluded or has been wondering their worth, that just opens up an avenue of opportunities.
Who were your role models along the way? Who did you look to and say, I want to write like that, or I want to perform like that?
I get this question often, and people are often surprised by my answer, but it is the truth. I really did not know poetry growing up. I was not a poetry girl. I didn't study poetry. I didn't read poetry. And actually, that's something I tell young poets when they ask me. I say, don't read anybody's poetry. Don't listen to anybody. Don't go to any open mics. Don't do anything. And people are like, what? What do you mean? Because I want you to get your own sense of self before you get influenced by hearing someone, before you get used to hearing a certain style. Because what happens is, if you hear a certain style, you will eventually start to copy and mimic it. It's like a singer who only grew up hearing Aretha Franklin. You're going to mimic Aretha Franklin. But if you've never heard her and you have your own unique sound, you'll grow into that sound. So I didn't have a one person that I looked at and said, I want to be like that person. I just got up. I said, God, whatever comes up, I guess that's the gift you gave me. And that's how I pursued it.
Once you began doing your poetry and you are amongst other poets, what did you realize about yourself and your writing?
I realized that, one, I had a lot to learn because I'm a learner. I'm not one, oh, I'm just so great. No, look at me. No.
Have you ever thought about comedy?
Someone said that before. I'm just not that person because it's always a learning journey. And when I get to the point that I don't need to learn, I got a problem for me personally. That's how I got into haiku, which was the 17-syllable poetry.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Yeah.
So what is haiku?
So haiku is Japanese poetry. Traditional, now to go back a little bit, there's more than one type of haiku. But the most popular type is the 5-7-5. And that's the amount of syllables on each line. 5 on the first, 7 on the second, and 5 on the last. So you have a total of 17 syllables. So you don't have a lot of space to make a point. Now, traditional ones are called haiku. They're only on nature. Non-traditional ones are called senryu, and they could be on any subject. Typically, they weren't, but way before me, someone decided, hey, let's open it up. Now, in the performing poetry world, we call them all haiku because we know if you hear it, it's only on nature, you know it's traditional, and you hear it, if it's not on nature, it's a non-traditional haiku.
At what point in your journey did you discover this and see that this was something you liked and something you wanted to do as far as the haiku? Is it something kind of halfway through you discovered?
I think it was about 5, maybe 6 years ago. So yeah, probably about halfway through. I was at an open mic and my friend Butterfly got up and did a haiku. I'd never heard of haiku. So I said, let me go look that up when I get home because I think you should have your own knowledge. And I was like, wow, 17 syllables. Then I went, nope. I immediately went, no, because I'm like, that's too structured. I'm used to writing out full poems, freehand writing. I don't want to do some 17 syllables. That's too no. You know what I mean? No, as I tell myself, no. And then I'm like, well, maybe about a few months later, I tried 1 or 2, and I'm like, I like this. I really like this. And as I did more and more, I got good at it, and then I won awards at it. And now I love it. It's part of everything I do.
Can you give me one?
Absolutely. Haiku. And I say haiku before each one just because I like to. You cannot divide yourself into fractions to make someone else whole.
Wow. And we do.
Yes.
Especially as women.
Yes.
What do you feel about African American women in this type of art? Do you think we're getting our just due? Do you think we're where we should be? Do you think we should be doing more?
We definitely don't need to be doing more. We've done so much in this industry. I think we're starting to get our due. There's a lot of us now who are poet laureates. There's a lot of us now who are poet laureate emeritus. I think the journal online process of submitting poetry and things of that nature for different entities still has a ways to go, because I think a lot of poems that we write are our experience. And if you look at some of the poems that have been accepted in journals or different entities, they're not our story. So when we submit it, it's kind of like, oh, I don't, that's not what we're looking for. So as far as performing, I think a lot of us have gone far. I think that there's still room there always for us to grow, not from a lack of us doing our work, because we are putting in the work. It's just being accepted in areas where we weren't typically thought of as the norm, so to speak.
You know, we're living in a time where Black poetry, Black literature is being rejected as DEI, which for some reason has become a bad word.
Yes.
What do you think about that? Because of course that's not where you started.
Exactly. I say that the storytelling of Black people have been going on for probably centuries. We have been storytellers before we even knew to call it that. We may be erased from books, we may be taken down from certain websites, but our story will never be erased because we carry it. That's the beauty of us as a people. We are unerasable in the flesh. We are unerasable in the spirit. Our contributions may be hidden, but they cannot be erased.
So as we move forward, what are your words to young poets who may feel discouraged by the efforts to take away our history, the way we move, the way we vibe, the way we write, the way we speak?
You be the voice. Be the voice you want heard. If you don't think enough history is being taught, be the poet that does the poems on history. If you don't think enough empowerment is being taught, be the poet that does the poems on empowerment. The beauty of poetry is you can put it on social media, you can do it yourself, you can perform it live. Once someone is in the room, you can, as I said, you can cut open their closed-mindedness with your words, but you have to have the words to do that.
Now, you were telling me that one of the toughest parts of the TED Talk was memorizing.
Yes.
So you had to memorize, what is it, how long is the
speech? Mine ended up being about 8 minutes.
Okay, so you had to memorize it. What was the toughest part of that?
Ooh, I am an ad-lib queen.
Me too.
I was like, okay, so stick exactly to what's written. Not that you couldn't ad-lib, so I don't want people to say, heck, they're really strict. You could ad-lib, but you had a time limit. So I had to get in my head, Kim, don't ad-lib, because I would have been over the time. And Ted could say, TedX or the people in the organization, when you go to get on their website, can say, you're over time, we won't take it. So what I did not want to happen was me to be up there ad-libbing, and then they go, oh, you ad-libbed yourself out of being able to be posted. So I said, okay, memorize it exactly, no ad-libbing. And that was the hardest part for me, because I just go off the cuff all the time.
And so at what point so you kept bringing because that's what I did,
Yeah.
you bring yourself around.
Right.
Come on back, Steph.
Exactly. I was like, you're memorizing this exactly, because normally I just get the gist of it and go with it. I'm like, if it says the, Kim, you're saying the. There's not going to be the, and I said, you're going to follow this exactly. And I didn't follow it exactly, but I came as close as I possibly could. So I was happy with the end result.
So how did this make you a stronger performing artist, this experience?
I think the memorization and following the ideals that they had in place, and no saying everyone or always or never, that was also part of the protocol for obvious reasons, because nothing is always or never. So that is part of their criteria. So for me, it broadened up the fact that I can do it exactly as written, because again, I'm an ad-lib queen, and that the point can still come across, because if it's written well enough, you don't need to ad-lib. Not that, I'll still do it, of course, but it can go as is.
Now, you wrote about the blame game.
Yes.
What have you learned about the blame game since this?
Oh, stop it. I didn't just say that for y'all. I said it for me too. It was a realization to say no, put my boundaries in place, and enforce them. As I said, no is enough.
No is enough. So do you find yourself now?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now I have no No, I'm so sorry. I can't. And no elongated explanation. No, let me go around the corner.
Yes, we do. Well, I didn't do it because and you got 17 excuses
Right.
to give the person because you feel bad that you're saying no,
Right.
but it's what you really mean.
Right.
I tell you, we got a lot of work to do.
Yes, yes. And it's okay. It's okay to say no. It's okay to put you first. It is.
What do you do to put yourself first, to self-care?
Oh, I have self-care every night. I'm a night owl. So when everybody in the house goes to sleep, I'm still up. I tend to go to bed 2 or 3 in the morning. I know, people. I know. Depending on what I have scheduled for the next day, I have that opportunity to get up a little late, 9 or 10 a.m. So I have that opportunity. So this is not going to work for everyone. But I have that alone time where I write, I read, I think. Sometimes I just sit there quietly. And I think that time is really relevant. There was a time I had to do something and I didn't get that time and I didn't feel complete the next day. So I said to myself, even if I don't have to go to bed that late, I always stay up past everyone else. So that's my me time. That's my Kim time.
So when every writer goes through a period where you may have a block, what does Kim Miller do to unblock?
Now, I tell people this, and I tell people before I answer, don't get mad at me. I personally have an opinion on writer's block. I have challenged people to ask them, do you actually have writer's block, or are you trying to write on a subject that God doesn't want you to write on? Maybe there's another subject you want to cover. I get you get commission work, so I'm not trying to be naive. You have this commission poem, which I've had also, so you have to write it. But maybe this subject here needs to be written first. Do you have writer's block in its entirety, or do you have a writer's pause on this subject?
Did you have a particular experience that brought you to that conclusion where you were trying to write about something and you couldn't because that wasn't what you were supposed to be writing about? Has that happened for you?
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember there was a poem, I think it was on parenting. I write a lot of parenting poems because I
You have children?
I have 4.
Oh!
2 from the heart, 2 from the stomach, 2 added to my heart through marriage, and 2 pushed out the old-fashioned way, as they say. And I also teach parenting classes for the county, Prince William County. So, you know, between that knowledge, I write a lot of bad parenting poems, even though I had 2 fantastic parents. I have to write for the other side because I know too many people who did not have that, and they need a voice too. Nobody wants to go hear how fantastic mothers are when you know yours was a monster, how fantastic dads are when you knew yours was a monster. So I tell them, you know, I had that great parenting, but I'm going to write for the other side.
So this was an experience that helped you with whether you should write about this, whether you're blocked, whether you're not blocked, or
Yes, because I was writing about a particular poem, and I was like, can't think of the ending. I don't know how I want this. And it kept going over here, and I'm like, no, I'm trying to finish this over here. No, I'm trying to finish. I'm like, wait a minute. I may have a whole nother poem I could get out before I finish this one. It wasn't a commissioned poem, so I had time. So I went and wrote a whole poem, and then I eventually came back and finished it. So now I challenge myself, are you blocked, or are you supposed to be taking a detour?
wow, that is an absolutely excellent philosophy. Writing is a very spiritual
Yes.
thing, but you got to follow
Yes.
that, or you got to have that inner, what's the word? That inner security in yourself.
Yes.
To know that it is from the spirit and write it, and that's what it's meant. How do
Yes.
you keep that? How do you keep focused with that?
Definitely a lot of prayer, because I want to make sure I'm touching on the points that he wants me to touch on, because you never know who in the room you're feeding. So I tell poets, every ingredient in your poem is feeding someone. So don't explain it. Don't give a prefix. Obviously, if it's going to trigger someone, you want to give a trigger warning. We do that in poetry. This is about this subject. This is about this subject. So because people are going through things, and they may not want to hear a poem about rape or incest, as they recently went through it. So we will give that, you know, trigger warning. But outside of that, people kind of need that exhale. They need that food. And if you feed them right, you can change a life without knowing it. But if you re-explain the poem, you snatch the food back. Oh, this poem is about the people are crying or thinking, and you go, well, that was about my dog. Then everybody's like, well, thanks.
I have to ask you, that was so beautiful what you, the haiku that you did
Yes.
a few minutes ago. Can I ask you to do one more? And if you don't want to do a haiku, do something else?
Sure, I could do another haiku.
Okay.
Haiku.
Haiku.
How many times do you have to fall before you stop tripping yourself?
How many do you?
Absolutely. And only you can decide.
So where do you go from here? You did your TED Talk, you were poet laureate. What do you want to do from here?
That's a great question. My ultimate goal is to perform at Madison Square Garden. Since we both are from the area, I'm a native New Yorker. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
That is a dream of mine, at Madison Square Garden.
Do they do poetry things?
They have not, but I am a believer.
Dream big.
Exactly.
Dream big.
Yes.
You could make it happen.
Yes, indeed.
So what's your plans for down here?
For here is to keep inspiring younger poets. I teach public speaking classes because it's so needed. A lot of people are fearful, understandable.
People, what's the main fear of just getting in front of an audience, or what do you hear?
It's getting in front of an audience, is being thought to not know what they're talking about, is not delivering the point. It's all those typical things that people fear. And I've taught this class to as young as a Girl Scout troop because I think everybody needs that comfort, and not necessarily comfort, but the ability to speak and understand what is necessary. It's not about perfection. It's about getting your point across the best way you can.
How long did it take you to kind of get it?
I've been talking forever. All my life I've been talking, so the talking part was fine. Now the getting in front of people part, I used to do that at church. My parents were like, okay, you're gonna do such and such, and I'd be like, okay. I'm not saying I was at ease at it, but I got comfortable with it, and now it's just, I'm more concerned with getting my point across than the crowd.
Well, it has been a pleasure talking to you
Pleasure's
again.
mine.
It's been a couple of years.
Yes.
So I'm glad that you were able to make it. You were the former poet laureate for Prince William County. You're a performing artist. You recently did a TED Talk. How do people access that? And we'll give that again at the end of the program.
Absolutely. They can find it all on my website, KimBMiller.com. Kim B. Miller.
And it's an 8-minute talk.
It's an 8-minute talk.
About the blame game.
Yes.
And not blaming other people for your issue.
Exactly. And watch out, make sure people aren't blaming you for their issue.
You've been watching the Sisters for Fitness Wellness Show. I'm Who am I? I'm Stephanie Gaines-Bryant. Enjoy the rest of your day.